Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's your host Terry. So it's the 5th of July. It's still a national holiday today in observance of the 4th. So I'm back on the road, sort of, kinda. I just picked up a load. I just bobtailed from my home to this load in Manchester, PA, and it's only going like, I think the loaded distance is maybe 30 miles max, but the load pays like over 600. So it's a good little, and it delivers tomorrow morning at 7. It's a live unload. So I've just parked at a truck stop. My wife's going to come and get me in a few minutes, and so I'll make this delivery tomorrow, and who knows, maybe I'll pick up another short one and have 2 quick loads submitted by the deadline for pay this week. Otherwise, I'll definitely be in the negative because all my stuff cleared already, so there's nothing in the hopper other than this load. So had a good weekend. I hope everybody else did. It rained hard in a lot of places. Pretty low-key, like 4th of July. My wife and I put up a pen for the chickens that I would say we have, but it's really not me. It's her. My wife's an official chicken mom. But we put up a pen outside and put an access hole in their coop. And we had that before, but we had a smaller outbuilding that we used for the chickens that we had in the past. So we just built a bigger fenced-in area for them, and they're in a bigger coop too. So it worked out fine. My wife was really pleased, and we didn't use all the fencing and poles we got from Lowe's, so we can return that stuff. Then just made a nice dinner and cooked some steaks, and they were delicious. And so we're just gonna get back on the road probably for about 6.5 weeks. And then we'll see how things go after that. So I wanted to issue I don't even know if it's a correction, an update to my being defrauded on my checking account. So I learned that somebody I know took a check of mine thinking it was one of their checks. And, don't ask me how that happens, it just does. So they wrote this check to somebody that they owed $100. And that person took it to the bank branch where I bank and cashed it. And so while I feel like, I had $60 in my account when I opened it. I feel like the other 40 I should pay BB&T. I'm kind of miffed about all the other fees because there's this thing called a signature card, and there's this other thing called Article 3 of the Uniform Commercial Code. And it kind of sets out a lot of rules regarding, and that's the article on negotiable instruments. And there's several different articles. Sales, bulk sales, transfers, secured transactions, which is Article 9. But Article 3 talks about negotiable instruments. And those are checks. And among other things. There are other things covered. But, the fact that the bank at the branch didn't say, well, wait a minute, this guy doesn't have $100 in his account. And by the way, I opted to not have overdraft protection. So they cashed a check for $100 in an account that they easily could have figured out had only $60 in it. So they shouldn't have negotiated the check to begin with. But furthermore, the signatures didn't match, right? The check was signed, but it wasn't my signature. And I asked this person, I said, did you sign my name? Did it say my name? And they were like, no. They signed their name because they they thought they had one of their own checks with their name on it. So we're still resolving this. I mean, I think I was probably a little too strong in saying I thought it was an inside job. It was an inside job, but not in the way I was thinking. But I still object to the fees and the overdraft fees, and I stand by what I said, although in a different way, that they got kind of a problem, right? Like, you got to check this stuff, right? And here's the irony: is I used to write checks or have checks written on a bank account from my law firm, have checks written to myself. Now, and then somebody would prepare the checks and I would just sign them. But I always knew how much money was in, that the check would not bounce, right? And even then, when I would go into the branch where I had both my business and personal checking accounts, they would always verify that the check that I was trying to cash, that I had there was enough money in the account that it was drawn on, and that signatures matched, all this other stuff. So anyway, that's the story there. So I wanted to mention a couple of things that I've done that could have ended badly, but didn't. And the first thing is, I was trying to pull out, and I share this with you just because truckers, make mistakes. And I was pulling out of a TA up in New York State, and it was a very busy road, and I needed to turn left. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, when I first started to go, there was a truck that was waving me out. So I put it in, I was in drive, I was in forward gears. And then when he was like, never mind, because the traffic still was backed up and everything, I put it in reverse to back up slightly to get my front end out of the street. And of course I checked behind me and everything, I didn't just throw it in reverse. But here's where I screwed up. After I backed up that few feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, whatever I backed up, I forgot to go back into forward gears and, with my foot on the brake. And so what happened is, when I finally did get a chance to go, I was still in reverse. And by that time, another truck had pulled up behind me. Now, fortunately for me, and for him, but mostly for me, he wasn't too close. He wasn't right up on my bumper. And so when I got that opening, I, stomped down on the accelerator, and guess what? I started to go backwards. And I caught it, and I went forwards. But it was a little scary, So that's one example. And I'm going to come back in a second and give you the other example. Hey everybody, it's Terry again. So I was telling you about being in reverse when I should have been in a forward gear. So the other thing that I encountered, and you guys know I've been having some problems with my APU, and I thought it was fixed when I was in Salt Lake City last time, and it wasn't. Well, I shouldn't say it wasn't. It ran fine for a little while, and then about 2 weeks ago now, it just started cutting out. It'd run for 3 to 5 minutes, and then it'd shut down. I'd have to kind of reboot it. And then sometimes it would run like it was supposed to, but when it's hot outside, that's not a great scenario. So anyway, when I've had trucks, especially Freightliners in the past, I was told, oh, well, if you're going to park for more than like a day, then you need to just power the whole unit down. And if you've ever driven a Freightliner, at least one that's fairly new, they have this cutoff switch beside the driver's seat, right inside the door. And so when I got home, I went ahead and shut everything down and then turned that switch to the off position so I don't run my battery down. What I didn't realize, and this is different than the other Freightliner I had, is that it didn't cut off power to my inverter. So, and I had taken everything out of my fridge that was like perishable. Like there were some cans of soda and stuff in there, but it didn't matter if they got warm or whatever. I just cooled them down again. But I came back in my truck one day when I was home, and my inverter was like smelling like really hot. Like I didn't realize that power wasn't cut off to the inverter. So the inverter was like killing itself to keep up. And my truck was parked in shade, so it wasn't like it wasn't like it was 100 degrees in the truck. But the inverter was still working hard to keep the fridge and the freezer going. So I share that with you because I'm not sure that, and so what I did is I was like, dang, that probably ran the batteries down. Let me start the truck and idle it for a little while to charge the batteries up. And when the truck turned over, it didn't turn over like, sorry about the reflection here. It didn't turn over as strong as it normally does. So, I mean, that could be coincidence, but I don't think so. So, if you have an inverter and you're gonna power your truck down, power the inverter down first. You don't wanna end up draining your battery because, you know, the system thinks it needs to continually be powering up your refrigerator. The other option is to just unplug everything. I actually have a power strip on my inverter that I plug my fridge and my microwave into, and sometimes my phone charger. But yeah, just word to the wise, I'm glad that I just happened to check that. So then I powered the inverter down so the fridge wouldn't continue to run. So anyway, those are a couple of things that I've learned. Fortunately, I didn't have to learn them the hard way, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. So anyway, I will check back in with you. We're actually at our 90, so we're getting another load here. We'll see what we're doing today, and whether I get a short haul, which is fine. If you know, then I can get paid for it this week. If not, you know, I'm not driving a truck for a week. I'm in it for the long haul, pun intended. So anyway, talk to you guys later, and be safe out there. Bye.